Let's talk some ball. This whiteboard session is going to be about 4 different coverages that you can use to play against 3x1 sets. This gives you the ability to have different matchups against different receivers, focus on handling them in different ways. We know in the modern spread offense, you're going to see those stud receivers get moved around and try to get them in different spacing and different spots to get them the ball. This is a way that we can combat that as a defense. What you're going to see from all 4 coverages is it's going to be run out of a 2-high shell. We are a 4-down cover 2 team. And the first one I'm going to show you is what we call green. It's our school color. Again, we're a cover 2 base team, so this is going to be something that maintains our cover 2 principles even though we're facing a 3x1 set. So the first thing we're going to do is look at alignment here. We're going to play our 3 to the field, and that's going to allow our Sam to be a full cover down over number 3, inside leverage. Safety is going to kind of split between 2 and 3, about 10 to 12 yards back. Corner is going to be 1x5, 1x6 outside of 1. Backside corner is the same way. Backside safety same way, 10 to 12. Outside the hash, he's going to be outside the hash, and that's going to be our normal cover 2 alignment that we would see. Mike's going to be tucked in the strong A gap. Will's going to be apex between 1 and the tackle. What you're going to get here is most OCs are going to think that we're going to do a few different things. Either A, we're going to spin down, play some type of cover 3, or we're going to play some type of man free, or send 6 and 7 and maybe a matchup across the board. So you should get probably some type of cover 3 beaters, some type of man beaters, but we can play cover 2 here and disguise it a little bit by just a simple check that we run with our backside corner and safety. First thing we look at is we're going to go ahead and man up this backside. Something that you do have to consider is obviously the matchup, if that's something that you can get away with. If you can, if that's where their stud receiver is, the last 2 coverages are going to work really well. But for this coverage, we're going to maintain that match on the backside, and that's going to allow our down safety, our weak side safety, to work across the field and go 3-2-1 with some type of vert or some type of deep crossing route. It's going to give you that middle presence there, like a cover 3, but maintaining that match on the backside and maintaining cover 2 to the field. So for our cover 2 principles, really simple. Our safeties are going to continue their back pedal and look to read shoulder. If the shoulder stays in the middle, we're going to continue our back pedal. If he does get a shoulder to one of the sides, should see a break at 45 and try to pick up the ball from there. If the progression changes, the shoulder changes, then we should get a head whip and we should see a 45 back in the other direction. Sam, any type of linebacker, all our linebackers are going to honor ball fakes. Always going to be quick to run, slow to pass. Then we're going to drop to 10 on the hash, and we're going to read shoulder from there. We'll slide on that line, kind of like a picket fence across the board, try to work to the shoulder and catch up to it that way. Corner, you have a couple different options. Number 1, you can play him at press, you can play him at off. Just depends on the matchup there. Regardless of where you play him, his technique's going to remain the same. 2 slow shuffles out, then he's going to look and try and get a good jam on number 1, try to funnel him back inside to throw off that timing. Once he does, he's now got a couple different options. You can play him if you're a cover 2 read team, play it like cover 2 read, have him stay on 1 unless he gets an out threat from 3 or 2. Or if you are kind of more of a spot drop guy, you can spot drop him to the top of the numbers. He can read his shoulder and go from there. But again, that allows them to play their normal cover 3 or cover 2 rules, even though it's a 3x1 set. This next coverage is going to be what we call solo. It's going to change alignment just a little bit, but what it's going to allow you to do is play some games again on the 3 receiver side. The biggest change you're going to see is we're going to play an under front to that, and this strong side end is going to play what we call a heavy technique. We'll talk about that in just a second. What this can allow us to do now is we can plus our linebackers over a zone, so now the Will can kind of hip up with the weak safety. The Mike can hip up with the weak end. Mike can hip up with the strong end, and now the Sam can bump out and cover down number 2. Safeties are maintained again. They're 2-high shell, pretty much normal alignment. The heavy technique that we talked about is really to protect this Mike because he does have a full responsibility back into the B. What that heavy technique is this end is going to work off his shade. His shade's going to tell him what to do. If he gets a down block, he's going to dive spill like he normally would on any down block. However, if he does get a base block, he's still going to come inside. So we're eliminating that B gap. The benefit of playing a heavy technique and not just sending him in on a bandit every time is that if we try to send him in every time and we get some type of gap scheme or zone away, What tends to happen is a lot of kids will get washed out there and we don't accomplish what we really want to do, which is we want to spill with him and we want to be the force player, kind of quarterback player with the mic. Just something that is a great benefit by just playing that technique on the strong side. Will does have a fold responsibility into the A-gap, but you can play different games. If you want to twist the tackles and cover that up, you can pinch the weak tackle on the weekend and keep him outside as a force player. Just a bunch of different options you have. But for this solo, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the safety working across the field. But what we're going to do now is we're going to play 3-on-2 against 1 and 2. So these three guys are going to match up against 1 and 2. A bunch of different ways you can run that. You can sky it, quarter it, a bunch of different ways you can do that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bracket 3 with the mic and the down safety from the backside. And that really is a great coverage if you feel like he's a threat as well. Will kind of on an island on his own. By keeping him outside, you can protect against some type of RPO, especially again with that back to the boundary there. You could see some type of glance RPO on that backside. Again, if we get some type of a flare fast out from the back, Will's always going to take 2 weak on that side. Again, a great coverage that you can run if you want a good matchup against 1 and 2. This next coverage that we're going to run is called special. And same technique up front. The only difference is Sam's going to play outside of number 2. Safety's going to maintain. Everybody else is going to pretty much stay the same. The difference now is we're not going to move him laterally. We're going to keep him where he's at. We're going to take away the match on this side, and we're going to match up the wide receiver on the front side. We're going to kind of play on the law of averages here. And that is, and you can do this, go back and look at your film from last year and see how many times when we got a trip set did we get some type of threat, some type of pass from number 1. To me, not enough times that we really have to really focus really heavily on him. And if it is, it's typically one of your deep balls and that's a low percentage throw. I tell a lot of times we want this guy to really favor deep as opposed to shallow. We're going to let him throw something short and wide. We'll rally to the ball. And give that up a lot of times. If that's something they kill us with down the field, we'll change up the coverage. But one thing is we can't get beat deep there. What that now allows us to do is now we can play our 3-on-2, but now we can do it against 2 and 3. And now we've got choices on the backside of what we want to do with number 1. We can sky it, we can cloud it, we can 2-man it. We can play different types of games against that guy if that's really where our threat's coming from. So if it's really that X receiver and those inside guys, this is a great coverage to run. And what really ends up happening is now this Sam is really the de facto corner from the last 2 coverages. Safety maintains the same, and the mic becomes the new Sam. Same responsibilities, just against these 2. Great coverage to run against opponent that's against moving around their guy. This last one is what we call stress. And on this one, the benefit of this one is there is no single matchup across the field. What's going to happen is Sam's going to bump out a little bit more, kind of splitting 1 and 2. Your field corner is going to back up just a little bit. And now what's going to happen is essentially we're going to play kind of a low-high against 1 and 2 here. And we're going to play a low-high against number 3 here. So we kind of get the best of both worlds. Nobody's matched up on either side. Plus, we can play choice on the backside and maintain some of that integrity. Really, just kind of a 2 platoon across the board. A great match, great coverage again. If it's something that you don't want to risk having your one-on-one matchups. So there are 4 different coverages that you can run against 3x1 sets. Any questions? Shoot me a question in the comment box, and I'll try to get back to you. If you want a great resource for different coverages that are run against 3x1 sets, Cody Alexander of Match Quarters is a great resource to use. He's by far more of an expert on this than I am, but great coverages that you can run against 3x1 sets. Hopefully something you enjoyed. See you next time when we talk some ball.